Hello everyone, welcome to Blood Bowl Live Monday Night Roundup. Once again, your weekly view of all of last week's games. We'll go through each games that were played last week. Sorry we're starting a bit late today. Chaos feeding time at the zoo. Um, but yeah, we're going to get straight into it. Is there anything I need to tell you first? Normally there's a few things I need to tell you first. So let's have a think what they are. Yeah, great few games this week to look at. We've got 14 games to go through. I guess the only announcement, we sadly have had one coach who has had to pull out due to other commitments. We've done some arrangements there to sort that out, and you'll see everyone will get their games in, so it's not really a concern, but just so that everyone is aware. But I guess let's just dive straight in. Let's just get straight to it. We've got so many games to get through, and I have a time limit. I'm going to try and stick to time this time. We'll see how well that goes. So, let's start with the first game of the week, Riotous Rams versus the Corn Asylum. Highly anticipated, especially for me, this rematch, as the Corn team managed to get a great result against the Chaos team earlier this season. Got a great 2-0 win, loads of casualties, really quite a surprise. This one looked like it could have gone a similar way, could have been similarly tight, and I think JD, the coach for the Corn Asylum, probably will feel like he could have got something out of this one, and I think Rich will definitely feel like he got away with something in this game as well. Having a little scroll through here, so starting at the bottom, firstly, pouring rain immediately throws the coaches off at the very start. Journeyman being taken all over the place, and inducement wise, Creek comes on for the Corn team. Straight away though, Creek is immediately killed on turn one. So, that's, I guess, one way to deal with a star player issue, is just to immediately kill them. Fouls and casualties kept coming left, right, and centre, as you can see. The thing that in this game was probably almost a turning point was turn 8. Rich had the choice to either score or foul, and Rich chose to foul and got sent off on turn 8 of the first half, and it went in 0-0, and that really felt like it could have been a turning point. It could have been a point where JD got back into this game, and it was a hell of a performance from Rich. Got to give credit to him. It was the performance turnaround comeback of a two-time champion that in the second half composed himself, got a touchdown early on, even getting agility busted lineman, kept going, got the second touchdown. JD, I think, was out for blood, maybe more than out to score by the end of it, and he takes the 2-0 win. I think anyone will agree who was watching this particular game, anyone will agree that it was a great turnaround performance by Rich there. So well done to the Rams on that one. It was a really great showing. Hard luck to JD on this as well. And next up, we've got another game in this group. Rich playing again against the Goblins. And again, this is another one where 2-0 scoreline. But again, possibly, I think Nick may feel like he was close to getting something out of this one. And I believe the dice here just weren't really going the way for the Goblins. Looking at this one, a couple of star players taken yet again. Straight away we get casualties coming in, fouls coming in from the Goblins. And about midway through that first half, Creek did have the ball very close to the end zone to get a touchdown. Rich managed to do the right things to turn that around and bring the game back his way, and even get a touchdown late in that first half. But it was close, and Nick was very close to getting a touchdown there, which I think would have turned things again. You've got to give some credit to Rich here for a great performance. Fouls coming in, casualties coming in left, right, and centre. A dead lineman for the Goblins, probably not too much of a concern. Replace that one pretty easy. Another bashy game, as we've come to expect from this group, actually. Lots of players just wanting to get fouls and casualties. And again, Rich coming away with a 2-0 win. which was really really key for him to continue that run. Um, and there's a lot of games in this group. We'll see more games coming up. We'll move on to the next one, but we'll be back to this group very, very shortly because this group had the most action of the week, I think, probably. Moving on to Hotspurs versus the Beautiful Bruisers. It was a Beautiful Bruisers' first game of the season, and I think of this group, and I think still could be the team. This Blackhawk team could be the one that can try and push that Nurgle team as hard as possible. And I think it's there's the rats in this group, there's halflings in this group, so it's there's all that kind of dodgy low armor stuff going on. So the strength of those orcs maybe sort of hoped would get a bit more from this one. Looking as it, Fungus the Loom was taken. Fungus not having a great season. He was taken in my game, immediately was killed, and Turntoon here sent off. I think that does have quite a bit of a kind of blow to a coach if you take a star player and you think this star player can do a lot for me, and pretty quickly that star player is either sent off or that star player is injured and goes. I think that that you go in thinking you've got a little push behind you and immediately losing it, I think can be difficult. Casualties start sort of happening, but relatively slow in the first half. A Pescator missing the next game. I think Scott will miss that in his next fixture. I think he will miss that extra agility that the Pescator has. And casualties started coming, and then 2 touchdowns in the second half. So again, at half time, looked like it was maybe a bit of a closer game. But a 2-0, another 2-0. Scott likes to win 2-0. If you know last season, there weren't many games he won that he didn't win 2-0. So yeah, I guess an unfortunate to lose that Pescator, but he's looking pretty comfortable at the top of this division now, looking like it is going to take something for him to be toppled at the top there. And it's for the Bruisers, it's only the first game. There's plenty more games for them to play. We're hoping for some more results later on. They do have that strength to bash those rats and bash those halflings, so we'll see how he gets on in future games. But well done to both coaches. Not many cash in this one again, but still a good amount of SPP for the Nurgle there. Moving back, we're jumping back to this group. There's so much stuff happens in this group. It's just they're really chaining their games, and they're going to be finished so early for the group stage. And this, after the previous results that we had, this felt like it could have very well could be like somewhat of a third place decider game. It, set the tone for who's going to finish third. It's the first time these two teams have played each other. They've both in the past got good results against the Chaos team, and this looked like it could have been tight, and I think actually it could have been tight had a few things maybe gone a bit differently. Looking at this one, Journeyman taken for both teams because they both took a bit of a beating in previous games, and the Corn start early, getting some casualty and getting a niggling injury on a Eagle Warrior Linewoman. Get another casualty. And the thrower who's now got movement stat busted, is a key thrower for this team. Has done well in this team. And then turn 6, we get a touchdown, so we get a touchdown quite late into the second half to take a lead. And I think there's probably a point in this game where JD's mind went away from scoring and maybe got a bit too focused on bringing down some of the opposition. I think that feels like how the game went. Turn 9 completion, stat busted Corngore from a casualty there on turn 10, and then we get turn 11 touchdown, turn 13 touchdown. The SPP that this player starts to rack up is incredible. the Corn just focused on the fouls and the fouls here, and focused on getting injuries, kills the linewoman of the other team, and then again, turn 15, touchdown. That is turn 11, 13, and 15. That is an impressive run of 2-turn touchdowns that they got. And I think let's not take away an amazing performance from the Amazons here. Really, truly dominant performance there. I think JD's focus maybe went away from the win and went towards the casualties, which unfortunately he didn't get. Chris will be so pleased with the amount he got there. And Chris then goes on for the next game against the Rams and takes that form forward. 2 games in a day Chris went for, and he took the form forward, and by this point, because of that result, because of that 4-0 win, Rich's qualification was secure. And let's just take a moment. Congratulations, Rich. First person to qualify. The 3-peat is still on. Let's see whether he can take that form forward. Whether a 1-0 loss in his last group game will be some sort of hit. There are some players that they are now missing, and Chris did very well here. Chris did very well to turn around what was the 3-0 defeat earlier on. And if you look at the record that these two teams have, because they played each other last season in the group stage as well, Rich has won 1 game, 1 draw, and now 2 wins for the Amazons. So Chris has managed to get the better here. Takes Boa as a star player, and immediately turn 1 we get a completion to tuck some SPP in. Looking at this on tour play as it was being played, you felt that the Minotaur taking out that blitzer who scored 4 touchdowns in the last game could have been a bit of a oh no turning point, and I did worry for Chris at that point, losing that player so quickly after stacking them up. He'll be happy that it's only a miss next game. So hopefully he can push forward, get through to knockouts, and have that player available. Casualties traded a bit there, and then a completion and a touchdown for the Amazon team to take a lead into the second half. Second half, we get another casualty for the Rams, traded with a casualty from the thrower there. I think an APOC was used to mitigate that. Casualty back from the Rams with a niggling injury. But Rich just wasn't able to, I think the dice maybe turned against him a little bit. Rich, I think this season has had, in the games where it's gone well, it's gone really well. And the games where it hasn't gone well, I wouldn't say it's gone horrendously badly. I think certain dice rolls have gone against him. But, it's a dice rolling game. That's the way that things are going to go for you. So, great result from Chris. He'll be thrilled with that. 13 SPP from that game. Rich still comes away with it from a point, but it's not a point he needs. Rich can still finish second in this group. There is now a target there for the Amazons and for the Corn team to aim for. So it is still open as to who else is going to qualify and who's going to finish top. Rich is looking pretty comfortable though at the top there. So moving away from that group briefly, because we will come back to it in a second, to see the Ipswich Imperials versus the Blitz Brigade. Harrison in this game will have gone in very much hoping for a bit of a turnaround of fortunes, couple of losses, but a couple of tight losses. Harrison hasn't been playing badly or losing by loads. He's just been sort of just falling short, and again it looks like the same thing happens in this game. There's a couple of elf teams that we've got who are struggling maybe more than people thought they would. Both teams had to take journeymen. Blitz Brigade taking a lot of journeymen for this game after their previous. And, early on, we get a completion and a touchdown from the Elves, stamping their authority, turn 4, taking a lead. And the Imperial Nobility team just say, okay, all right, well, I'll get a 2-turn touchdown and I'll come back. And straight away, the game is 1-1 so quickly. Completions, fouls, traded, some SPP getting gained there with a completion. You got the chance to do a cheeky throw, but you might not score. Do it. Get the SPP. Casualty there, badly injuring the catcher. He'll be happy that is only out for the rest of this game and not any further. A lineman picks up a niggling injury. Looks like off the back of back of a casualty there. The fouls, come in nice and quick here, and the Ipswich Imperials get another foul and get a player sent off this time. They get more casualty, miss next game for the other catcher. Casualty, the thrower goes down dead. You've got to say that Harrison has had a lot of players. I think probably a lot of those key like thrower catcher blitzes that in one game or another he's been missing. I don't know whether since game one he's had a full roster. And whether that's just because the elves have targets on their back, I don't know. But obviously it does make things difficult. And I do feel for him because it's so tricky to get your season started and get your season going when you have, when you have all of this that you're up against, and when you're, down players very early on. It is tricky. So, but let's not take anything away from the Ipswich Imperials there. They got a touchdown on turn 16 to take the 2-1 win. And they're looking a bit more comfortable at the top there. There's still a lot of games to play in this group, but 16 SPP they'll be happy with, and looking quite good in that group. This group is going to be tight to get out of. And I don't think that it's out of the question for Harrison to get 3 wins in a row and get himself in that mix. It's certainly an uphill fight, but it's not out of the question. So we'll see how that one goes, but well done to Kevin. Great result for him. We'll be really pleased with that 2-1 win there. And now we're going back. We're going back again to Hoffman Group and back to the Corn Asylum versus Kittens for Tea. They got so many games in this week. It was unreal. And this one, JD and Nick were in the same group last season. They've played each other a number of times through 7s games and through 11s games. They know each other quite well. The trash talk between the two of them is always just fantastic. They give it to each other as good as they get it. And this one was going to be interesting. And I think actually Nick will probably be quite happy with it with this 0-0. Will probably be quite happy to get the point there, and I know that he got a lot of fouls here. Having a look at the inducements, I mean, he takes Fungus the Loon, he takes Bomber Dribble Shot, 2 bribes. Going in it the way Goblins do. I know he's gunning for that best stunty performance this season. Straight away, turn 2, foul. Turn 2 looks like he gets a badly hurt Goblin, but that's not going to hurt him too much. Turn 3, he gets another badly hurt Goblin. But the Goblins give us as good as they get. And, movement busting a Bloodseeker for the Corn team, that's... they're not pacey as it is. That's going to be a tricky one for JD to manage. Interesting to see whether that's not a skilled up player, whether he does just get rid and rehire. Bomber gets a casualty in that first half on turn 4, takes out another Bloodseeker, and then foul. It's what Nick loves to do. He loves the shenanigans, and he does it really well. Manages to get plenty of fouls in. Get to the second half, Bloodseekers are coming back, casualties, more fouls from the Goblins, more casualties from the Corn team. It was a great kind of trading of blows that they had between them. Casualties coming left, right and centre near the end there. Nobody going out particularly sort of important for either team. And the game ends 0-0. I think it's probably our first 0-0 of the season as well. But by far, it was not a dull 0-0 game. Casualties and fouls being traded, shenanigans from the Goblins, and it looks like both coaches probably had great fun in this game as well. So 0-0 in this group has kind of blown it wide open. Either 3 teams behind Rich can qualify still with the games remaining. It's more difficult for Nick than it is, and JD sort of sat there in the middle of the two. But this group is still open, so we'll see which one manages to break through. Moving on, we've got Reptile Dysfunction versus World's Edge Berserkers. World's Edge Berserkers is their first game of the tournament, and they have they've gone for an interesting starting lineup. It's a redrafted team from last season. Interesting starting lineup that they've started with the Death Roller straight away, going for blood clearly from the off. And last season, They struggled a bit. They had some sort of close results, but maybe not any sort of no wins, unfortunately for them. But they did sort of do what they got a lot of casualties. Really sort of probably decided to a degree how things in their group went by players that were missed and things like that. Looking at this game, though, it does appear that the Lizards probably had the better of them. The Death Roller did its thing, tried to do a fouls, but by turn 6, it's sent off straight away and you've lost it. I think it's quite brave with a Dwarf team to go for 11 players and one be a death roller, because it is a secret weapon, and then with such limited movement on that dwarf team to then be down a player, especially against movement 6 Saurus and movement 8 Skinks, I think that is a challenge. That is a challenge. The Skinks get a touchdown on turn 5 and then continue to foul in the second half. Skink gets sent off. Saurus gets a casualty there. Takes the lineman out for the next game. Probably won't miss a lineman overly much. And get the touchdown on turn 12 and manage to hang on till the end of the game. David there looks like he is taking a bit of control in that group as well. We've got another game of his coming up, which we'll have a look at. And, getting those results in. For Jamie, it's the first game. It's only 2-0 and only one player out for sort of the longer term, and it's only a lineman. So I'm sure he'll be hoping. He's got some teams in that group which could be very interesting. Seeing the Dwarfs and that Death Roller against the Goblins, for example, that could be a really interesting fixture. So we will see how they get on. Well done to David, though. He'll be very happy with that win, cementing himself as someone who looks like they're probably getting close to that qualification spot. So next up we have another game that is a repeat of a fixture that we had last season. Angry Advarkians and the Bleakshore Ravens were both in the same group last year, and last season the games between these two teams were tight. They were close, and I have to say, Mitch's Elves team were a scary looking side, and they genuinely, they did look like they had it all, and they got 3 wins from 3 at the start of the season, including a win over the Aardvarkians. And as soon as they qualified, I genuinely thought they were going to be a contender. I thought that they would be one of the finalists, and they had a very unlucky game against the Riotous Rams, against the eventual champions, with horrible weather and all sorts of things, making it very, very difficult. So they are a force to be reckoned with, but they have, and I think Mitch will recognise, had a rather horrible start to this season. First of all, first game gets pouring rain, which when you're a thrower-catcher team is immediately going to make things a bit difficult for you. Harry Slownose starts how he means to go on, getting fouls. Turn 3, lineman dies. Probably not going to miss a lineman. Not too bad. Turn 3, another foul from Harry Slownose. Catcher, skilled up catcher, out for this next game with a niggling injury. That's going to hurt a little bit more. And the Angry Advarkians then, completions, doing a bit of everything really. James does do a bit of everything with his teams. Gets a completion for Twansy Pat. Harry Slownose with another foul and being sent off on turn 5. He's definitely trying to get that Harry Slownose to have the most fouls this season. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. That's his aim. I know that Robert is going to fight pretty hard to take that off him. But the Advarkians get a turn 8 touchdown, taking a lead into the next half. Elves come back with a throw. Casualties keep coming. Another lineman goes out. And I'm not too sure what happened here with 2 badly hurt players on turn 10 and 14. With no one seeming to do it. It would be interesting to know what happened there. But James will be happy to have taken another win. I believe he's unbeaten currently. And Mitch will have been thinking, James is a good opponent. 1-0 loss. Maybe I can recover. We'll get to his other games later, and you'll see how his other games went. But for now, we'll move on to the Bruisers versus the delightful Dirty Golden Browns. Both teams lost their first fixture to the Nurgle, so they would both have been looking to use this as an opportunity to kind of jumpstart the season, get back going again. And it was another close one. Rats clearly sort of I think both teams will be coming into this thinking, maybe the agility of the Rats can run around the strength of the sort of slower guys in the Black Hawk team. Straight away, armor value busting a gutter runner for the Blackhawks, getting a gutter runner off the pitch. That's how you slow the Rats down. You get rid of those great positionals. Bomber dribble stop, getting sent off on turn 2. Probably not really what Sam would have wanted. And again, second game in a row where one of those secret weapon players gets sent off so quickly. And I do think that kind of hits you a bit. I do think it does. Blitzer gets a casualty, strength, slap busting a goblin, I imagine. It looks like it's a skilled up goblin, which is a shame, because otherwise I imagine that goblin would be out. I mean, a strength 1 goblin. Yeah. We get a few more sort of injuries being traded, missed games, niggling injuries, casualties for the linemen, badly hurt, getting a Black Hawk off the pitch would have been good for those Rats, and then a 10-8 touchdown for the gutter runner, so going in at half time in the lead. And the second half looks like maybe it was a bit quieter, maybe there were lots of knockouts, it's difficult to tell from this. But the Rats managed to hold on and secure that win, and will probably be quite pleased that the Rat Ogre takes the MVP, because that's some good SPP to skill up that Rat Ogre, which looks like it is now skilled up. So Rats will be very happy there. Sam, 2 losses from 2 games at the moment. But it's a long season. You can still get out of a group with 2 losses from your first 2 games. You can still turn it around. So I've got faith that Sam can maybe still cause some upsets in this group. Next, we go on to our next streamed game, Reptile Dysfunction versus Flumps. Another game with pouring rain. We had a lot of interesting weather rolls this week. So, looking at this one and I was kind of watching this one, I think the Goblins did incredibly well against. David knows what he's doing with lizards. He's experienced in playing the lizards. He's played them a few times before. He takes them to tournaments. He knows what he's doing, and I think he's done really well to kind of. I think Scott's done really well here to keep things at bay. And looking at how the game sort of moved forward, an early casualty for Asaurus, and then the Goblins did their Goblin thing and just fouled lots. And then you get another casualty for Asaurus, followed by more fouls. Another casualty for Asaurus, another casualty for Asaurus. They were clearing the field of Goblins. And I think Scott should take some positive from this to have held those lizards back till turn 14 to score, because David is very good. He does know what he's doing, and the pace of those skinks can be very difficult. The strength of those Saurus with movement 6. Lizards are a difficult team to come up against because they can do a bit of everything. So the Goblins have done really well here to hold back for that long. I think it is a really good showing. But take nothing away from David. Looks like possibly a controlled performance there. More sending offs, more fouls near the end of the game, and MVP to a trained troll, which looks like it's getting pretty skilled up there. And MVP to a skink, which, if you've played lizards, when you get a skink with lots of skills, you're in for a good time. You absolutely are. So well done to David. Great result there for him. Flumps, 2 losses from 2, but again, 2 losses from the first 2 games does not mean your season's over, so keep going. Next up, we've got 3 games left. We're ploughing through today. Fog Force versus Greystone Gladiators, and after seeing a couple of elf teams not have things go their way, we can see an elf team where things did go their way. You can see here a 3-0 win, 3 casualties, not conceding, full 6 points. Justin will be absolutely pleased with that game to take that away from this. Andy's having a great time. He's very new to Bloodbowl, taking 5 casualties from this game. He'll be pleased with that, even if he didn't manage to take a touchdown or a win here. And looking at how the game kind of moved along, lots happened in this one. An early casualty for the Blackhawks, another casualty for the Blackhawks, fouls coming in left, right, and centre. Elves start to trade back, get some completions as well. More casualties, casualty for the Blackhawks. It's actually not until looks like turn 9 that we get the first touchdown from that catcher. And so, going in at half time at 0-0 makes the 3-0 win even more impressive. 3 touchdowns in one half is very, very impressive move indeed. So a touchdown in turn 9, touchdown very early on there. I wonder whether there was a blitz or something to get a touchdown in turn 9. More fouls happening, more completions happening, and a touchdown in turn 14. So the managed to keep them at bay a little bit longer. More fouls coming in from the Orc team, and then a two-turn touchdown at the end. Another completion for the thrower. Looks like Justin was just playing these elves to a T, doing that two-turn touchdowns, which they've got the pace to do. They've got the positionals in the catchers and throwers to do it and do it well. And he was doing it and doing it well. Losing one of his catchers to a niggling injury out for the next game, not his skilled up catcher, so maybe won't be quite as upset about that. And losing a lineman with a armor value stat bust as well. Again, it's a lineman, maybe not too concerned. It looks to me like it was a professional, great performance from Justin. Did what he needed to do, cementing himself a bit more at the top of that group. Him and John looks like they're going to be very close. Who's going to come out on top there? And I wonder whether Justin's just got the pace over the Norse team to maybe score quickly when he needs to, and whether he'll take that top spot. Well done to Andy, though. He's clearly loving it and getting those casualties in. He's going to be high up on that casualty and foul board, absolutely. So really, really well done there as well. Two more games left, and they both feature the Bleakshore Ravens again. The Elves are back for two last games here, and I wish I could say that they are two games that went well for the Elves. Elliot will have been looking to bounce back from his game against James, where he lost 2-1. He'll have been looking to get a better result there. And he did. Not a huge number of casualties in this one, but a good amount of SPP for both teams. Let's see how this one played out. We had nice weather, because that's not a guarantee this week. Cindy Pie Whistle comes in for the Dwarfs. Great fun to have Cindy there, but doesn't last long. Only gets to turn 5 before gets sent off, so not in it for the long run. Dwarf Blitzer, niggling injuries, a lineman. I think Mitch will probably just be pleased that is a lineman. And the Dwarfs managed to get a touchdown late in that first half. Quick touchdowns aren't really Dwarfs things, so taking a half to score sounds about right. Second half kicks off. We get another badly hurt lineman, but we then do get a completion from the thrower, and a blitzer runs it in for a touchdown. So we do get a touchdown on turn 13, and that probably makes the Dwarf touchdown in 3 turns. The Troll Slayer getting the ball there and managing to take it down, and stat busting a lineman on the way. Lots more stat busts again this week, and getting a touchdown on turn 16. So the Dwarfs will be really happy with that. I think I haven't played Dwarfs hugely myself, but I would be concerned at how quickly I could respond if I concede on turn 13. And I think to get that touchdown at the end there and take the win, Elliot will be really, really pleased. And after this game, you say, I say it again, two losses from your first 2 games isn't necessarily season over. 3 losses from your first 2 games, that is a bit more difficult, but I'm not ruling out Mitch to get 3 wins out of 3 and to come back in this one. Not ruling it out at all. And Tom, off the back of a first game loss as well, will be very pleased with this for a couple of reasons. We have to call this out for Tom. We absolutely have to highlight it and say congratulations. Not only was this Tom's first win in a game, in a league game or a tournament game, this is Tom's first touchdown that he scored. So well done to Tom. Not only getting a touchdown in your first touchdown, but then building on that to get a second one and winning the game. Really, really well done here. And this one, weather we had was nice. Journeyman on both sides, and the Orcs come in and do what they did in that first game and immediately start fouling. Take out a lineman with a niggling injury. And get that touchdown. The Scrapper gets the touchdown in turn 7. A little bit SPP farming for the Elven team there, getting a completion in, stat busting a blitzer of the Dwarf team. The catcher missed next game, +2 niggling injury. That's a skilled up catcher that is living on the edge there. Another catcher for the Blitzers, more completions, equalise on turn 11, killing Scrapper on the way as well. And then you've got a few turns left, and we have to say well done to the Orc team for again, not a pacey team but a strong team, and managing to get that touchdown to equalise the game. So really well done there. So as I said, massively well done to Tom for his first win. Absolutely deserved. He's putting the effort in. Unlucky for Mitch to 3 losses out of 3. He will very much be hoping that he can turn that around. And I think he can. I think he's got what he needs there. If he can keep some more players on the pitch for a bit longer, I think he can turn things around. So that's our 14 games. We will have a little quick look at the table here. As we can see, Riotous Rounds already qualified. Well done to them. And second place in that group, wide open. Absolutely open. Anybody could take that at this point. You'd think the Amazons probably have a bit of an edge there, but JD could pull something off. And we could get third place from that group as well. Justin cementing himself at the top of that group. John didn't play this week. He'll be looking to close that gap at the top to see if he can take another win there. The Tetanus Hotspews are sitting pretty at the top of their group. 3 wins from 3. This is the group where we've had a coach pull out, but we've got some halflings there to replace them, so everyone will get their games in. Kevin looking good at the top of that group, but the Evolutionaries and Scale Marys are looking tight as well, and they do have games in hand, so there's still a lot to play for there. No games in Reyes this week, so that stays as it is. Ardvarkians are locked in at the top of their group with 3 wins in a row. They look pretty sure to get out of there. Be interesting to see who can come next in that group. And the Lizards, the Reptile Dysfunction team, looking pretty good as well. And that's it. That's it for this week's roundup. Thank you for anyone who has joined us. Thank you for anyone who's rewatching on Twitch or rewatching on the YouTube channel. It'll be on the YouTube channel over the next couple of days. Not sure what games we're streaming this week. We will confirm that as soon as we know. But if we don't catch you on another stream, hopefully we will catch you next Monday to, again, go through all of the games and get all of the details. So we will see you next time.